state of emergency in California as deadly fires explode across the state. President Trump ordering federal assistance to help with the disaster.
The huge wildfire that is raging in Southern California and threatening hundreds of homes north of Los Angeles.
We've had over 70,000 wildfires in California since 2010. These have occurred between the months of July and November, otherwise referred to as the California wildfire season. But why California? Well, there's plenty of reasons, both geographic and political, that contribute to the three things you need for a fire, namely ignition source, fuel, and oxygen. You'll soon see what I'm talking about. Now, to truly understand this, we have to go back in time to the year 1910. You see, the world we live in has something called nature, and nature in itself has its own way of controlling events, such that everything eventually becomes balanced. After nature came us, the human beings, and we started interfering with nature in many ways. For this video, we'll focus on the 1910 interference, the year when it was decided America and its states will take an active role in preventing and stopping wildfires as soon as they start. Back to California. This is a state that experiences what is called a Mediterranean climate, where the winters are really cold and rainy, and summers become very hot and dry. This is the natural occurrence in years where drought isn't a problem. Now, forests in California are mainly composed of trees known to be drought resistant. They soak up a lot of water during the wet winters and grow really quickly. When summer comes, these trees shed off their leaves and concentrate water in their most protected parts. By protected, I'm referring to the roots and trunk, which are very thick, making them essentially fireproof. Add this to the fact that these parts contain plenty of stored water. They can't burn down in the event of a natural wildfire. Now, apart from trees growing in the forest, we also have grass, which grows really fast when there is water, and quickly dies away in the dry season. With these points in mind, we have a typical year, where fire response teams put out the fires before the dried grass and leaves from the trees can burn. The cycle continues, and the level of grass and leaves keeps increasing over the years. Eventually, a lightning strike occurs somewhere in the forest, or a camper forgets to put out his fire, and within no time, all the built-up fuel burns pretty fast. It doesn't stop there. If the fire gets hot enough, it will set the trees on fire, which burn even hotter. It still doesn't end there. There's plenty of wind during this time, which keeps feeding more oxygen into the fire and pushing it into unburnt areas. With this knowledge, I'm sure you're wondering, why can't we just let the fires burn as they're naturally supposed to? Well, the problem again is with us humans. You see, California has a lot more people than other states, with others living in wildland areas. People living in such areas creates the need for social amenities, electricity being one of them. In order to have electricity, power lines need to pass through these areas. The result is occasional sparks from these power lines, igniting the dry fuel on the ground. For instance, the picture you're seeing right now. If we didn't have people living in such areas, you wouldn't hear about it, and emergency fire services wouldn't have to respond. But because there are people living there, lives have to be saved. Hence, the fire has to be put out. Let's look at possible ways these disasters can be avoided. And no, I'm not referring to going on holiday to Hawaii and turning your back on victims like the Australian Prime Minister. On a government level, introducing controlled burns could really help. We already know the fires are natural and they can't be stopped. We can, however, control their intensity. With controlled burns, we essentially start fires way before the natural season to get rid of accumulated fuel. This also helps certain plant species to grow, as phosphorus and potassium present in ash is good for them. The next step will be to encourage property owners to clear fire breaks along their property. Fire breaks essentially slow down fires, give firefighters easy access, and even stop fires from spreading to neighboring properties. Of course, there will be those people not willing to cooperate, like they did regarding masks. Introducing fines might help change their minds. On an individual level, you could install sprinklers around your house to wet down the surrounding areas and stop embers from igniting the dry vegetation. If you have the money, you could also have a separate tank filled with rainwater with a clearly marked valve that fire services can connect to. These are just a few of the many possible precautions. Remember, safety starts with you. If everything else fails, run like your life depends on it, because it actually does.